When harsh criticism transforms into a full-fledged defamation campaign, Carrie Underwood responds in a way that leaves everyone stunned. Carrie Underwood, long admired for her grace and resilience, had a story that inspired millions. From her humble beginnings in a small Oklahoma town to her rise to stardom, she embodied perseverance. But what happened after her unforgettable performance at a historic event was something neither she nor her fans could have foreseen. It was meant to be a moment of celebration. Carrie had been carefully chosen to sing a heartfelt rendition of the national anthem at the swearing-in ceremony of a newly elected official. The night was filled with anticipation, and Carrie was prepared to deliver a performance that would resonate with every listener. And deliver she did. Her voice soared with unmatched power and emotion. But it wasn't her flawless vocals that made headlines the next day. It was the backlash that followed. By the following morning, headlines across major outlets were ablaze. Prominent liberal TV hosts dissected her performance with a sharp edge, scrutinizing everything from the symbolism of her dress to potential political undertones in her song arrangement. What began as harsh commentary spiraled into something much darker: allegations that Carrie's performance was a deliberate act of political alignment. Social media became a battleground. Hashtags supporting Carrie and others vilifying her began trending within hours. For a woman who had always avoided political controversies, this was entirely new and unsettling territory. Amidst the chaos, Carrie remained silent. She observed the storm brewing around her, waiting and preparing for the right moment to act. What came next was a move that would leave the entire nation talking for weeks. The night of Carrie Underwood's performance was meant to be a unifying moment. Cameras zoomed in as she stood on the grand stage in Washington, D.C., the Capitol gleaming behind her. She wore a simple yet elegant white dress, her signature blonde hair cascading over her shoulders. The air was heavy with anticipation, and when she began singing the first notes of the national anthem, the crowd fell silent. Her performance wasn't just a song, it was a powerful message. The notes carried an emotional weight, touching the hearts of many in the audience. To those watching, it felt like a moment of national unity, a rare instance where differences faded away, if only briefly. But not everyone saw it that way. The criticism started almost immediately. Some accused her of intentionally wearing a dress that carried political symbolism, calling it too bold and deliberate. Others nitpicked a minor adjustment she had made to the song's arrangement, claiming it was a subtle critique of the new administration. Prominent TV hosts began spinning narratives that painted her as someone using the moment for personal or political gain. "What was she thinking?" one commentator exclaimed during a broadcast. This was clearly a calculated move to align herself with divisive ideals. What truly ignited the firestorm, however, was a widely shared clip from the event. In it, Carrie finished her performance and exchanged a brief smile and handshake with the newly elected official. To her critics, this was all the proof they needed. They labeled her a political opportunist, accusing her of betraying the small-town values she often sang about in favor of chasing clout. Social media exploded. Tweets flooded in, some in her defense, others harshly critical. "How could she?" one user wrote. "This isn't the Carrie we knew." Fans quickly rallied behind her, arguing that she was simply doing her job, singing the anthem, not making a political statement. But Carrie's silence in the days following the event only fueled speculation. Every news cycle amplified the outrage, turning it from a debate about her performance into a deeply personal attack on her character. And yet, Carrie did not flinch. She stayed silent, absorbing every headline and comment, carefully watching as the storm unfolded. Behind the scenes, however, she and her team were taking notes, preparing for what was to come. The backlash reached its peak when liberal TV hosts took things a step further. It was no longer just about criticizing Carrie's performance. The rhetoric became deeply personal, with some hosts questioning her faith and values. One show replayed clips of her smiling at the newly elected official on a continuous loop. "Is this the face of a neutral artist?" the host asked, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Another commentator twisted the lyrics of an old song Carrie had written, suggesting it hinted at her long-standing political beliefs. As the accusations became more far-fetched, the media frenzy spiraled out of control. The hosts brought in body language experts and political analysts to scrutinize every moment of her performance. They picked apart her smile, her handshake, and even the way she held the microphone, weaving a narrative that painted her as a hypocrite and a sellout. For Carrie, the toll was immense. She had always avoided political discussions, focusing solely on her music and the positive impact it could have. But now, her very identity was under attack. Still, she remained quiet. To her critics, this was an admission of guilt. To her supporters, it was a sign of her strength and composure. What no one realized was that Carrie wasn't retreating. She was planning her next move. The relentless backlash didn't let up. Every day, new headlines emerged, each more sensational than the last. Liberal TV shows doubled down on their accusations, turning what could have been a fleeting controversy into a full-blown defamation campaign. One prominent host boldly claimed, "Carrie Underwood isn't just a singer anymore. She's a symbol of political division." Another speculated that her handshake with the official was a calculated PR move to align herself with controversial policies. Social media was a battlefield. Supporters of Carrie defended her passionately, using hashtags like #StandWithCarrie and #MoreTruthMatters, while detractors trended #Carrie Underwood Exposed, calling for boycotts of her music. "She's just singing the anthem," one fan wrote. "How is that political? Leave her alone." But for her critics, the silence from Carrie was deafening. "If she's innocent," one commentator sneered, "why isn't she saying anything?" Carrie, however, remained steadfast. She refused to engage in the public mudslinging, and her calm demeanor only added fuel to the fire. Behind the scenes, she and her legal team were meticulously documenting every false claim, every defamatory statement, and every baseless accusation. Then, when the noise reached its loudest, Carrie broke her silence. Not with words, but with action. Carrie Underwood and her legal team filed a defamation lawsuit against the network that aired the most damning accusations, naming individual hosts in the suit. The legal filing accused the network of crossing the line from criticism into deliberate falsehoods that tarnished Carrie's reputation and caused her immense emotional and professional harm. The lawsuit outlined specific instances where hosts had misrepresented her actions, twisting innocent gestures like her handshake with the official into evidence of political motives. It also called out segments where they questioned her faith and personal values, labeling these attacks as unethical and defamatory. Carrie's legal team revealed emails obtained during the discovery phase of the case. These messages, exchanged between producers of the show, exposed a calculated plan to escalate the controversy for higher ratings. One producer even wrote, "Let's frame this as a political statement. It'll keep people talking." When this evidence was presented in court, the room erupted in murmurs. The leaked emails painted a damning picture of a media machine willing to sacrifice truth for sensationalism. The news of Carrie's lawsuit spread like wildfire, dominating headlines for days. The same networks that had once criticized her now scrambled to cover the story, many toning down their rhetoric as they analyzed the legal implications. For Carrie's fans, it was a moment of vindication. "She's finally standing up for herself," one supporter tweeted. "This proves they were just out to tear her down." However, critics argued that the lawsuit was a threat to free speech. "This sets a dangerous precedent," one pundit warned. "If public figures can sue over harsh criticism, where does it end?" Carrie addressed these concerns in a rare public statement. "This lawsuit isn't about suppressing free speech," she said, her voice steady and resolute. "It's about holding people accountable when they use their platforms irresponsibly. Words have power, and with that power comes responsibility." Her words resonated deeply with her supporters, reigniting discussions about the ethical responsibilities of media outlets and the fine line between criticism and defamation. As the trial began, the courtroom was packed with journalists, fans, and curious spectators eager to see how this unprecedented case would unfold. Carrie Underwood entered with her head held high, her presence calm but commanding. Her legal team presented compelling evidence, playing clips of the host's inflammatory commentary alongside the leaked emails that revealed their true motives. Each piece of evidence drove home the same point. This wasn't criticism. It was character assassination. The defense argued that their comments were protected under the First Amendment. "We have the right to criticize public figures," their attorney declared. Carrie Underwood is no exception. But Carrie's lawyers countered with precision. "There's a difference between critique and defamation," her attorney argued. "These statements weren't opinions. They were falsehoods presented as facts, with the intent to harm her reputation." The trial unfolded like a gripping drama, each day revealing new twists that captivated the courtroom and the public alike. Carrie Underwood's legal team came prepared, meticulously building their case with evidence that left little room for doubt. One of the most shocking moments came when they played a secretly recorded conversation between two producers of the accused show. In the recording, one producer admitted to deliberately exaggerating claims about Carrie's performance to boost ratings. "Controversy sells," the producer said bluntly. The courtroom erupted into murmurs and the judge had to call for order. The defense attempted to discredit the recording, arguing it was taken out of context, but the damage was already done. The recording, paired with the leaked emails, painted a clear picture of manipulation and sensationalism behind the scenes. Then came Carrie's turn to testify. As she took the stand, the room fell silent. Dressed in a modest yet elegant outfit, she exuded both vulnerability and strength. Her voice was steady but filled with emotion as she recounted the personal toll of the defamation campaign. "I've spent my entire career trying to bring people together through music," she began, her words resonating deeply with the audience. She described how the false accusations had affected her family. "My children couldn't understand why people were saying such cruel things about me on television," she said, her voice cracking slightly. "They were scared, confused, and hurt. No one should have to explain to their kids why the world is attacking them for something they didn't do." Carrie's testimony was a turning point. Her genuine emotions and unwavering commitment to the truth struck a chord not just with the jury, but with the public following the trial. The defense fought back, claiming that their commentary was opinion-based and protected by the First Amendment. "Criticism of public figures is a cornerstone of free speech," their attorney argued. "If this lawsuit succeeds, it could discourage honest commentary and weaken media freedom." But Carrie's legal team wasn't finished. They presented a timeline of the network's coverage, showing a calculated effort to escalate the controversy even after public interest had started to wane. The hosts had revisited the story repeatedly, framing Carrie in a more negative light each time. Their goal wasn't to inform or critique, her lawyer stated, it was to defame, and they did it knowingly, for profit. The final blow came when Carrie's team introduced testimony from a media ethics expert, who explained how the host's actions crossed the line from criticism to targeted defamation. The expert's analysis left little doubt that the network had acted irresponsibly and with malicious intent. As the trial neared its conclusion, the courtroom drama spilled over into public discourse. News outlets across the political spectrum debated the implications of the case, and social media buzzed with passionate discussions. Supporters of Carrie rallied behind her, flooding platforms with hashtags like #SawCarrie for Justice and, Stand with Carrie. "This isn't just about her," one fan tweeted. "It's about holding media accountable for spreading lies." Critics, however, remained vocal. Some pundits warned that a victory for Carrie could have a chilling effect on media freedom. "This case is bigger than Carrie Underwood," one commentator argued. "It's about protecting the right to critique public figures without fear of being sued." Despite the noise, Carrie stayed focused. She made no public appearances outside the courtroom, letting the evidence speak for itself. Her restraint only added to the intrigue as the nation waited with bated breath for the jury's verdict. Finally, the day of the verdict arrived. The courtroom was packed to capacity, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Carrie sat at the plaintiff's table, her hands clasped tightly together, while the jury filed in with solemn expressions. The foreperson stood, the weight of the moment evident in their tone. "We find in favor of the plaintiff, Carrie Underwood." The words echoed through the courtroom, and a wave of emotion swept over Carrie. She exhaled deeply, her composure briefly giving way to visible relief. The judge announced the damages, millions awarded to Carrie, both as compensation for the harm done to her and as a punitive measure to hold the network accountable. The room erupted into a mix of cheers and gasps. Carrie's fans outside the courthouse celebrated the verdict as a victory not just for her, but for truth and accountability. The aftermath of the trial sent shockwaves through the media industry. Networks across the country scrambled to review their editorial practices, wary of crossing the line between critique and defamation. The case became a landmark precedent, forcing a reckoning in how public figures were treated by the press. For Carrie, the victory was bittersweet. In an emotional statement outside the courthouse, she thanked her fans for their unwavering support. "This was never about silencing anyone," she said. "It was about standing up for the truth. Words matter, and with that power comes responsibility." I hope this case reminds everyone of that. In the weeks and months following the trial, the ripple effects of Carrie Underwood's victory reached far beyond the courtroom. It became a symbol of accountability, a moment when the powerful forces of sensationalized media were held to task. News organizations, commentators, and public figures all began to rethink the boundaries of criticism versus defamation. For Carrie, the battle was as much about her dignity as it was about setting a precedent. She became a voice for countless individuals who had faced unjust media attacks but lacked the platform or resources to fight back. Her story inspired conversations in classrooms, boardrooms, and homes about the power of words and the responsibility that comes with public platforms. Carrie's fans stood unwaveringly by her side throughout the ordeal, and in the wake of her victory, their loyalty only deepened. Social media became a space of celebration, with countless messages praising her bravery and resilience. "She didn't just win for herself," one fan tweeted. "She won for all of us who've ever been torn down unfairly." Carrie for justice. But for Carrie, the victory wasn't just about the public's applause. It was about reclaiming her narrative, her reputation, and her life. Her first major performance after the trial was a monumental moment. Fans filled the venue, eagerly anticipating her return to the stage. As the lights dimmed and the first chords of her music played, the crowd erupted into applause. When Carrie finally stepped out, her presence was electric. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "This has been one of the hardest years of my life, but your support carried me through. Tonight I sing not just for myself, but for everyone who's ever felt silenced, misunderstood, or torn down. You are not alone." She began singing a new original track, Unbroken, which spoke of resilience, truth, and courage. The lyrics resonated deeply with the audience, and by the time she finished, the room was filled with tears and applause. It was a moment of triumph, not just for Carrie, but for the ideals she fought to uphold. Beyond the stage, Carrie became an advocate for truth and fairness in public discourse. She was invited to speak at events and organizations, sharing her story and championing the importance of responsible media practices. Her words carried weight, urging society to value integrity and compassion over clicks and controversy. "This isn't just about the media," she said during a keynote speech. "It's about all of us. The words we use, whether in a tweet, a conversation, or a broadcast, have real power. Let's use that power to build each other up, not tear each other down." Carrie's case also sparked a wave of change within the media industry. Networks began implementing stricter guidelines for their reporting practices, prioritizing accuracy and fairness over sensationalism. While critics continued to warn about the potential chilling effects of the lawsuit, the broader public embraced the changes as a necessary step toward accountability. For Carrie, the journey was far from easy, but it was worth it. Her courage to stand up for herself and her values left a lasting impact, reminding the world that even in the face of overwhelming criticism, truth and integrity could prevail. As time passed, Carrie's story became a beacon of hope and a reminder of the power of resilience. Her music continued to inspire millions, her voice as strong as ever. She remained a symbol of grace under pressure, proving that even the harshest storms could be weathered with courage and conviction. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Together, let's celebrate the power of truth and accountability. Share this story to remind others that standing up for what's right always matters.